she in the house? Is she in the ambulance? Is she in the fucking hearse? Where the fuck is my kid?
He says, I'm home. I've got Libby's keys. Where is she, you say? He replies, dead. You need to be honest. You need to be completely honest. You've got 2 kids to worry about. If you know more, if you were there, you need to tell us now because your life's about to change, I'm telling you.
In the early hours of October 31st, 2020, Lily Hudson, a Hemphill resident, was driving to meet up with a friend when she noticed both a Honda Accord and a Ford F-150 pulled onto the side of the road. Worried that this might be the result of Halloween drinking gone wrong, Lily pulled over and inspected the Honda. However, to Lily's shock and horror, she didn't just find an unfortunate drunk driver. When she stuck her head inside the Honda Accord, she was met with the dead body of a young woman. Terrified, Lily made a call to 911, and in this never-before-seen footage, you'll see how this unimaginable case unfolded. The following footage and never-before-seen exclusive interviews have been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed professional counselor and a former detective, former licensed polygraph examiner, and former hostage negotiation commander and instructor.
How y'all doing? Who was the one that actually drove by? You saw it first? Can you, I know you've had to explain it a bunch of times. Can you do it just one more time? Because I got to take the statement, okay?
Look, he's going to video it too, so...
So you won't have to write nothing down, okay?
All I know is I was going to go that way, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it, so I went to go to the gas.
Okay.
I seen that where her thingies were on, and I was like, well, maybe, she's just having car problems. So I pull over, and I seen throughout my passenger seat, and I was like, she must be just slumped over. Maybe she's just drunk,
So you know her?
I didn't know. I thought I knew. I thought it was Kenesha.
Okay.
The person that I knew. So I'm literally, right here. I'm, you can see my tracks right there.
Okay, so you said you thought it was your friend Kenesha.
Yeah,
you saw her hazard on.
So the door was already open. I was like, hey, I shook her. And I was like, hey. And I was like, Kenesha. And nothing. So I looked at her. I was like, no, that's not Kenesha. So I, made sure, pulse, because I work for Burton. I was like, I already know.
Mm-hmm.
I touched her, and I was like, there's nothing. That's when I called 911. And then I seen her face, and I was like, that's when I just started, going in shock. I was like, I didn't know what else to do after that.
As the police investigate the scene, they're shocked to discover that Lily wasn't the only living person there. Behind the Honda Accord, they found an unresponsive man curled up in the fetal position. As he was rushed off to the hospital, the police took note that he'd been lying next to a pair of boots, a baseball cap, and a black rifle. Through a wallet found at the scene, the police were able to determine that the deceased young woman in the car was 19-year-old Livy Lewis.
Hey, I don't know if dispatch has notified her next of kin or not. Okay. I know who it is, so that's not a problem. I think they should have a phone number for it, the SO. I was waiting for you to decide if you wanted to do that or not yet.
I think let's at least get her out of here first.
Okay.
I mean, that technically, it's y'all's scene, but however y'all want to do it. I just think if you notify them and it's closed, they're going to do something about the scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Hoping to process the scene without any disruptions, the officers decide not to notify Livy's family until their work is done and her body has been removed. Unfortunately, with word of the crime spreading like wildfire, this plan quickly falls apart. Darcy Bass, Livy's mother, soon arrives at the crime scene.
Where's my baby? Calm down. Where's my baby at? I don't have to talk to the kid. Listen, it's your kid. Where's my kid? I don't care. Where's my kid? Is she in the house? Is she in the ambulance? Is she in the hearse? Where's my kid? Oh my God! You're gonna ask me that stupid question right now? Where's my kid? Who's my kid? Where is my child? Libby Lewis. Where is she? Where is she at? Y'all won't tell me a goddamn thing?
After several minutes of begging for information, Darcy Bass, Livy's mother, is finally able to pry some information out of the stony officers.
Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me. Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me instead of having me running around here looking crazy. Y'all won't answer my questions.
As of this point, We do not know.
Don't know what if she's alive or dead. You couldn't tell me that.
She is not alive.
Okay, well you could have told my. Oh my God! What the? What? There's an investigation. If y'all, okay, there's an event. This is funny to you? Is this funny to you?
Not at all.
Is this funny to you?
Not at all.
Huh? Yeah, he was. I saw his eyes.
This kind of tense situation is exactly what officers were hoping to avoid. As some of the officers deal with containing Darcy, the rest of them continue to process the crime scene. With Livy's body still in the car, it was hard to tell exactly what happened to her. However, they could see that there was a large amount of blood around Livy's face and all around the car. Upon further inspection of the outside of the car, it was clear that someone had forced their way into the vehicle. Damage to the rear passenger window suggested that someone had tried to use some sort of object to break through it. After that was unsuccessful, they eventually began kicking and striking the driver's side doors. Eventually, this individual must have been able to pry open Livy's door, leaving her vulnerable to their attack. As the search of the car continues, police eventually find a crucial piece of evidence that points them towards Livy's cause of death. What appeared to be a bullet hole was found in the dashboard of Livy's car. The size and shape of the hole matched that of a .308, the exact type of rifle found on the scene of the crime. Based off this bullet hole and the blood found in the car, it was eventually determined that Livy had been killed by a bullet wound to the neck. Desperate for more answers, the officers began looking into the other vehicle on the scene. While the truck didn't reveal as much as the officers had hoped, they were still able to glean some useful information from it. Not only did they find identification for Matthew Edgar, the unresponsive man found on the scene, but they also found 2 phones in the car, one belonging to Matthew and the other belonging to Livy. As the police searched the area for anything else that could point them towards the truth, Darcy tries to find out what the officers know, and more importantly, what information they might be keeping from her.
So the investigation, her and one other individual
Very possible.
were in the car.
Possible. We don't know yet. What happened? We're in the middle of investigation.
Well, can you tell me some information about what happened to my kid and why she's dead in her car?
All we know is right now that she's deceased in the car.
Whose gun is it? Run the numbers on the gun. Was it Matthew's gun?
We don't know yet. We have not.
Well, if you were to come up with a conclusion right now, what would you say?
We don't make conclusions. We don't make assumptions. We go by what the evidence has for us. We don't have all the evidence yet. Not at all.
I'm trying to protect. Y'all trying to protect somebody. They're trying to protect somebody.
Hey, you can't go over that. They got these people that go over.
Oh, that's my kid! Well, my baby just did.
I know, but you can't come over here.
Why? Because y'all trying to protect somebody?
Oh, this is a crime scene.
My child. So you just leave my kid just out there? Y'all cover my kid up.
She is.
No, y'all gonna just leave my kid in the car?
Right now, we have to. That is standard operating procedure.
Then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Doing the investigation so my kid get off the side of the road and be late? Just what the?
It's not long before Darcy finds out that not only was Matthew Edgar the one found at the crime, but he was rushed to the hospital.
May I ask what Mr. Edgar's injuries was? They teach y'all a lie like that?
Everything okay, Buster?
Who can tell me why he went to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital?
He was leaving to go to the hospital when I arrived.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
He was gone when I got here.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
Just the ambulance. Not.
What was his injuries? What was wrong with Mr. Edgar?
That ambulance is already gone. These are just the ones that are here for now.
How do you know if they was here or not?
Because I was here when that ambulance, I passed the ambulance when I was turning onto this road, going back into Woodville Hospital. We have a sister named Tanya. Okay, Tanya's up here at the top of the hill, and wants to know if you'll come up there with her. Like it's Tanya.
No, I'm not going up there with them.
Despite several attempts from the cops to remove her from the crime scene, Darcy is determined to stay right where she is. The longer Darcy stays on the scene, the more tense the situation gets, and it's only a matter of time before somebody snaps.
What was that together?
I'm here.
You're him? Damn, you're 3 hours. How long? When did this happen, Mr. Maddox? When did this happen?
I've been at the hospital, young lady. Hey, I'll answer your question.
This is my daughter.
Right now.
This is my daughter. This is my daughter.
Right now,
You can answer my
I
question.
know who it is, but anyway, if you would, if you're way back up yonder, the thing would be up there.
No, I'm not going way up there.
Yes, ma'am, you are. You're either gonna go peacefully or we're gonna put you in the car.
You're gonna put me in the car.
All right. It's just up to you.
I'm not leaving my kid. You're gonna force me to go up there.
Yes, ma'am, I am. Because we've got to process this thing, and I'm not gonna be sitting here talking to you while I'm doing it.
I won't talk to you.
All right? Get up, back up there.
I've never been.
Come on,
up there.
Philip.
I know.
I got her.
Oh, damn
Got
it. Golly, I wouldn't even be in.
Get going.
Yo, this how you gonna treat a mother that just lost her child?
Darcy,
You
hey,
treat a mother that just lost her child like.
I sympathize with you.
Yeah,
But hey, we've got a job to do.
With this, the investigators' focus was back to the task at hand, finding out what happened to Livy. It was quickly becoming clear that the only person who could answer the investigators' many questions was Matthew himself, so an officer was sent to the hospital for an interview.
Okay, Matthew, can you tell me a little bit about what happened while we're waiting on that camera to...
I had no clue why I'm here.
No clue.
So,
Okay, what happened? Do you remember what happened earlier in the evening?
last thing I remember is I put my kids to bed and I was on my porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing I remember.
Okay. Okay. Been drinking this evening? How much?
Bottle,
Bottle of
Jim Beam,
Jim Beam? Anything else?
a few beers earlier in the day.
Okay. Okay. So you just woke up and here you are at the hospital trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
We built an ambulance.
Woke up in the ambulance? Okay. Okay. How'd you get all the blood all over your face?
I don't know.
Because the hospital said you don't have any injury. Don't know. Okay. All right, Matthew. You don't mind if I call you Matthew? You can call me JP. You don't have to call me anything else. I'm going to take some pictures of you. Okay?
What am I being questioned for?
Well, there's another vehicle parked in front of yours. Inside that vehicle is a dead female. That's why you're being questioned. I don't know. I have not made it out there yet. So we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Okay? In dealing with me, Matthew, you're going to find out. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. But unfortunately, there is a deceased female in that vehicle that's in front of yours. And my job is to find out why she's dead.
Although Matthew doesn't seem to remember anything revolving around Livy's death, JP is still determined to get some useful information out of him.
You have a girlfriend?
Kinda.
What's her name?
I got an ex-wife. Her name's Montana. Got an ex-girlfriend named Livy.
Mm-hmm.
No gal out there. I'm kind of talking to her a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When's the last time you saw Livy?
Tonight.
Tonight? What was that about?
It was all at my buddy's house.
Okay. What house was that?
Bobby's.
Bobby
Over
Ozan, right there on 944?
there. She and her and my ex-wife both was there.
Okay. Who's your ex-wife?
Montana Bouquet.
Any kind of arguments with anybody going on over there while you're over at Bobby?
Really?
While appearing groggy, Matthew shakes his head before answering, not really. Not only is this a qualifier, and it isn't a clear no, but there seems to be a delay in his verbal and nonverbal sync.
Okay. When you say ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, what's your relationship like with both of them?
It's awesome.
Okay, so it's not a typical,
No,
I hate your
hell
guts.
No. Hell no.
Okay,
It's awesome.
okay.
My ex-wife and her, they're big buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Libby had my youngest son out all day today. And then Pluff hung out all day. That's why she came over to bring him back to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my weekend.
It was your weekend?
Yeah.
So who brought the youngest one?
Libby did.
Libby? Okay. Is she the mother?
No.
No.
Montana's the mother of both of them.
Okay. Okay.
But we all got a relationship and we all hang out and stuff like that.
Right.
It's better for the boys.
No, I understand. I agree wholeheartedly. It's the man thing to do. Raise your boy, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Try my best.
JP tries to find out more about the last moments Matthew remembers before waking up in the ambulance.
Okay, so you're at Bobby Ozan's. What else can you tell me of what happened last night?
Me and the boys went to the house. We got home. I put him to bed. I put Fletcher in his room. I put Cooper in my room. Turned on TV for him.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all you remember.
That's all I remember.
He seems to shake his head no when he says, "That's all I remember," which is a mismatch between his words and his movements.
Okay. Everybody over there drinking? Yeah. Okay. What kind of car you have?
I have a 2007 3/4 ton Dodge Cummins. And I got a 2018 Dodge Journey SUV.
Okay. You know where those vehicles are at right now?
My house.
Your house?
Although Matthew may not realize it, he's just given JP crucial information. Neither of the cars that Matthew listed as his matched the Ford F-150 found at the crime scene. Could there have been someone else there? Even with that possibility, there's no denying that Matthew looks suspicious.
It's not looking good for you, Matthew. Because I still don't know what's going on. You don't remember nothing, which is fine. But the cause of death for that girl is not natural. Well, it looked like she got shot. That's what I was out there talking to some of the deputies that are out there. Now, I don't know that for a fact, Matthew. I'm not out there. They don't know either. So we've got to wait for the autopsy and all that stuff. You know how we do things, just like on TV.
Normally, we would expect an officer to not reveal this detail so soon. This is usually because they want to keep certain things hidden so they could see if a suspect knows something that only the perpetrator would know.
Not exactly, but... All right? And here again, Matthew, I will tell you flat out what's going on.
Did they tell you a name?
Did
they tell you a name?
Libby. I'm sorry for your loss, Matthew. All right, Matthew. I'm going to take you over to the jailhouse now, okay? At this point, I'm going to place you in custody, okay? Charge is going to be homicide. All right?
It's certainly interesting that Matthew isn't showing any anger or emotion at hearing this. We would typically expect to see some kind of reaction, but his face is oddly blank.
Now pay attention to me. I want you to understand why, okay? Okay. You were found behind the vehicle where the decedent was. There is a family relationship, meaning there was some kind of relationship between you and her. Past, present, future, you know. All right? There is a weapon laying on the ground behind the vehicle, close to where you were found. Okay? Based on that and a few other things, I'm going to place you in custody right now for homicide, okay? So we're going to take you over to the jailhouse. We're going to get you some regular clothes. Your clothes are going to be with me. There is blood stain on the clothes. Okay. Which will be indicative of, they're basically what we call transfers. Okay. In other words, you were in contact with somebody bleeding. Okay. Obviously, the amount of blood on the clothing is not sufficient for your injuries because the only place you're injured is a little bit right up under here. Okay. You had no open cuts, no open other than your hand. Okay. Here again, that's another reason I'm going to go ahead and place you in custody right now for homicide.
Although Matthew was taken into custody for Livy's murder, there was a lot of investigation to do to prove that he was their killer. It's believed that he refused to talk to police, maintaining that he didn't remember anything. While Matthew wasn't able to give the investigators a lot of information to go off, they knew a good place to start would be everyone who was at Bobby's party on that fateful night, starting with Montana and Bobby.
Oh, y'all went to a party last night?
Yes, sir.
Did you go by yourself or did you?
I was by myself. Yes.
Okay. What, did everybody leave at the same time?
Everybody left, and then all that was left was me, Livy, and Bobby. And I don't remember the exact time.
Well, during the party, what was going on?
Nothing. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was getting along.
I'd went to bed about 1 o'clock that night. I just left everybody else outside doing, their thing. They come in there and woke me up.
They being?
Montana and Livy come in there and woke me up and said, "Hey, get up, let's go outside and drink." And I'm done. I've had enough. And I told them, I said, y'all can go and stay here if y'all want to, because they was pretty drunk.
That night, there had been a party hosted by Bobby. Later into the evening, Matthew got mad when he heard that Livy was going to spend the night.
I was in there for 5-10 minutes maybe. And then she said that she was going to stay the night there. And that's whenever I was like, well, if you're staying, I'm going to leave. I'm going. I don't have no reason to stay. I got up and I walked out. And when I walked out, Matthew was standing in the doorway. So he heard her say that.
And you think he heard Livy say she's going to stay the night?
Oh, I know he heard her because that's what made him so mad.
Based on Matthew's statement to JP, Livy was his ex-girlfriend, and they had a great relationship despite being broken up. If that were the case, why would hearing this make him so upset?
What's the relationship with Matthew and Livy?
They were dating. They've been split up for a month or so.
When was the last time they were together, to your knowledge?
Dating wise, her birthday weekend, beginning of October.
So you come out, he's standing there, what happened then?
I turned around and I opened Bobby's door back up and I was like, Matthew's here and he's pissed. I just knew he was mad. I seen it.
Bobby's bedroom door?
Mm-hmm.
Montana done walked out of my hallway, which walks into my garage area. And I could hear a bunch of screaming and beating and so I knew they was fighting automatically.
I tried to walk past him to leave and
he wouldn't let you?
No. He tried to choke me.
He what?
He tried to choke me. And then that's when I went and got Bobby.
Montana and Bobby's version of this party is a far cry from the harmless, peaceful party that Matthew described earlier.
Well, when I go out there, he's over there kicking her car and beating her car and all that. Well, he goes after her again. Well, I just grab him and hold him up against the car and scream at him, quit, whatever. Well, he's just yelling top line, he's going to kill us and all this other stuff. And about that time, Livy comes behind me, headed toward her car. Her car, everybody had a car. He had a vehicle. Montana had a vehicle. Livy, they all three had their own vehicle. Her car was parked over towards Woodline. Well, she started to her car, and he took off after her again. I took off after her. So I got him and strained him up against the car again, and she come shooting out of the driveway, turning up the road, and then Montana got to her car and got back in it. And then as soon as I let him go, he tore out and got his car, and he gave chase. And I figured that was the end of it.
Although they may have escaped from the chaos at Bobby's house, this night of terror wasn't over for Montana or Livy.
And then once I got to town, I called Livy to check on her and asked her if she was okay. And she had turned, like going toward Matthew's house.
She said she was okay when you called her?
Mm-hmm. She kept going past the houses. I don't know where she went.
She drove by Matthew's house?
Matthew's house and his grandparents' house where I stayed at. I pulled in at the brick house, and I never heard from her after that.
Did he stop behind you?
Yeah, he pulled in behind me. I went to get it, or He was kicking my door again. I went to get out, and he started choking me again. And I was honking the horn so somebody would come outside.
What was he saying?
Threatening to kill me.
What?
Threatening to kill me.
What? You don't remember what he was saying specifically?
I will kill you. I will kill you.
Did he say why, or just that's all he was saying?
Mm-hmm. Because I knew that Livy was going to stay the night at Bobby's, and that's why he was so mad at me.
Did his mother or grandmother, anybody come outside?
No, sir. I went inside, and I laid down.
So you got out of the car and went in the house. Did he try to come in or anything? He just left. Okay. Did you tell Cindy what was going on?
Yes, sir.
What'd she say?
She just told me to calm down because I was upset. And I just finally fell asleep. And then I woke up at 6-something this morning to them crying on the back porch because the first story that we got was that Matthew had gotten in a wreck. We didn't know anything.
But the first thing, you just woke up the next morning, Cindy's on the back porch crying.
Mm-hmm.
Were y'all all intoxicated?
Who? All
You and Livy and Matthew.
Yes, sir.
What were you drinking?
They were drinking whiskey, and I was drinking vodka.
When did y'all find out, and how did you find out that Livy was dead?
I didn't find out until after it was 8:30, 9 o'clock.
With Montana's story out in the open, it's time to dig a little further into the details.
What do you think happened?
I have no idea. Because I would have never thought Matthew would do something like this.
Has Matthew ever been assaultive towards you before this?
Not. With the whole time we were together, he never put his hands on me. Ever. Never once laid a finger on me. And a couple months ago is the first time he ever put his hands on me.
Montana delays for a long time before answering the question, followed by a slight stumble in her words.
Not.
It appears that she's thinking a lot about her answers. However, what she says next makes it clear that something changed recently.
With the whole time we were together, he never put his hands on me. Ever. Never once laid a finger on me. And a couple months ago is the first time he ever put his hands on me.
So at some point this morning, Cindy went down and got the boy, but you don't know how, if he called her or she just decided to go or
Mama
what?
went and got him, I think.
Who did?
Mama.
What's Mama's name?
Sandra.
Matthew's grandmother?
Cindy's mom.
But you don't know if Matthew called her or she just went. You don't know why she went and got him.
Probably worried about him, knowing he was acting crazy.
Has he ever been heavy-handed towards his mother or grandmother?
Not in front of me.
She makes another very careful statement by saying, "Not around me," once again making it seem like she's being cautious about what she's sharing.
Have you ever seen a Matthew be rough with Livy?
I haven't.
Have you ever heard it? She complained to you?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
They both complained about it. She hit him and he hit her.
Montana's interview was certainly enlightening. However, the investigators still had questions. What had happened between Matthew and Livy after Montana had left them? Desperate for answers, investigators searched Matthew's home. Not much of use was found in the house. However, it was lucky that investigators searched it when they did. Just a few days after their search was completed, Matthew's house burned to the ground. While Matthew's mother Cindy claimed the fire was started by a gas leak, many around town felt that someone had burned it down in retribution for Livy's death. Despite the strangeness surrounding the house fire, no one was ever found responsible, and it was ultimately written off as an accident. Still, investigators began to feel the pressure. They had to solve this case before someone burned down more evidence, or possibly even attacked someone involved with the case. Unexpectedly, one of the biggest pieces of evidence was found at Matthew's grandparents' house. In the afternoon of October 31st, Zachary Hogan, Matthew's cousin, discovered Livy's key fob in the front lawn of the house. How had Livy's keys ended up so far from her car? This wasn't the only shocking discovery Zach made that day. While out on the lawn, he realized that his prized vehicle had been stolen, his Ford F-150.
So at any point in time, did you give Matthew permission to operate your vehicle?
No.
Has he ever operated your vehicle before?
Yes.
Right, and he knows the door code, and the keys are generally left in the ignition because you have a door code.
Yes. And I told him the door code
That
that day about noon.
So what was your reaction when you found out your truck was not there?
I was mad.
Did you have a assumption of who took it?
Yeah,
And who was that?
Matthew.
Matthew. Did you know where your truck was when you saw it missing?
No.
It's clear that at some point in the night, Matthew drove back to the brick house to swap cars, although his motivation behind this strange decision isn't clear. Is it possible that when Matthew swapped cars, he may have been seen by someone at the house, someone who might have been willing to help him?
The police were already over at Matthews, and you were walking out just to see what's going on.
Yeah,
And you found these keys.
Yeah.
Tell me about these keys you found.
they were just laying in the rocks right beside the driveway.
The little white rock, blue rock, what?
It's all right.
Gravel, blue rock, kind of like blue rock.
Yeah.
Next to the driveway, on the right side of the
If you're
driveway.
pulling in from the highway,
Yeah,
it's on the right.
on the right.
So I'm halfway down the driveway.
And they were just laying there.
Yeah.
And that's not where they normally stay.
No.
Where do they normally stay?
I mean, I imagine with her in her car.
Sounds like a stupid question, but I gotta ask.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I understand. All right, so you pick up these keys. You realize that they're not yours.
I thought they were I was making sure they weren't Montana's because I was going to tell Montana, here's your keys.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized it wasn't hers, so I was like, I just set them down on the, like, under the carport on the little brick. I don't even know what you call it.
The little brick ledge.
Yeah.
Montana also had some intriguing information for the police about Livy's keys.
But the key fob for Livy's car was found
In the driveway of the
in
brick
the
house.
driveway. Who found it?
Matthew's mom.
Matthew's mom. And what did she say about it?
She took it into the house and put it up. And whenever the Texas Rangers come, she did not want to give it to them. And that's when Matthew's uncle walked in there and told her that she had to give it to them, that they were going to cooperate through the whole investigation. And then she gave it to him.
Where was the key fob? Were you there when she found it, or?
I was in the house with Matthew's cousin Macy, talking to her, and they come inside talking about that they had found it. And I want to say she put, like, when you walk in the brick house, there's like a big china cabinet, and it has dishes and everything in it. And I want to say she put it in one of those little bowls that has extra keys and everything else in it.
Did that strike you as odd that she didn't want to give it back?
Yeah.
Investigators had noticed that Montana's claims about the key fob being found were very different from Zach's. Would Cindy really go to extreme lengths to cover her son's tracks? Or was Montana trying to make Cindy look suspicious for some reason? Investigators were going to get an answer to this question sooner than they expected when a woman contacted them and explained that she'd driven by the crime scene before Lily Hudson, the woman who called 911, had ever arrived. The information given to them by this unexpected witness was so shocking that 7 months after her initial interview, Montana was called in for another.
At any point after the party at Buffy and Ozan's, were you ever on the scene where Levy was killed?
No.
No.
Montana makes a strange headshake here that looks more like a yes than a no. She's completely closed off her nonverbal, and it's as close to the wall as she can get. It appears that she's even more detached from this interview than the last one. It's also noteworthy that in short time between her interviews, Montana has dyed her hair darker. This will come up later on.
I did not even know Libby was killed until 8:30 or 9 o'clock the next morning.
She doesn't provide any more information about being at the scene of the crime or not. Rather, she shifts to when she found out Livy had been killed, which is a very clear deflection.
Now, you said you called at some point, Levy, when she was in Hemphill?
Yes, when we were driving through town, I called her.
Did she answer?
Yes. I said, "Hey, are you okay?" She said, "Yes, I'm fine. Are you okay?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Please go home." I said, I can't because he's rear-ending me right now. I want to go somewhere where there's people. And I hung up. She had lost signal.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the last time I heard from her.
Okay.
In the span of a few seconds, Montana has made some odd remarks. She said that Matthew rear-ended her, but didn't clarify if he hit her.
I said, I can't because he's rear-ending me right now.
There's a chance she meant to say tailgating, and her anxiety is affecting her ability to think of the right words. Similarly, she says that she hung up or lost signal.
And I hung up, or she had lost signal.
Which are two very different endings to the call, and it's strange to get them mixed up.
And you supply these text messages to the text ring?
Yes.
Now, most of those text messages were what they call iMessages.
Yes.
Because you had internet service.
Right.
The last message you sent them is, WTF are you doing?
Yes.
What was that about?
I don't know.
But you never left the house?
No.
Never went outside?
No.
Because that text message, that indicates that you were outside of Wi-Fi when you sent that text message. So that implies, it's a whole, all your other messages were iMessages, so you had internet service, you had Wi-Fi, whatever. When you sent that message, it's a text message, so that means you were outside of Wi-Fi coverage.
Right. But I never left the house and I never went outside.
Though it's hard to see because of the table, it seems like Montana is displaying some anchor point shifting and leg fidgeting. Either way, it's clear she's experiencing increased discomfort about that text. She's pushed herself up against the wall, trying to put as much distance as she can between her and the detectives. Despite Montana's insistence that she never left Cindy and Sandra's house, it's clear that the investigators have information that makes them suspect otherwise.
And one of those text messages Edgar told you, you asked where he's living. What was his response? Did he ever tell you Libby was dead?
Yes.
And that was during those reports of those text messages you supplied to the text line?
Yes.
What were you thinking?
I didn't believe him.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought he was talking out of his head. He was drunk.
And you've seen Matthew drunk before?
Yes.
How drunk was he that night?
Drunk. He'd been drinking whiskey.
Just whiskey or?
Yeah, just whiskey. He hadn't been drinking no beer. Or it was mixed. It was a mixed drink, I think.
Montana's body language isn't aligned with what she's saying, and she corrects herself after she's shaking her head no. She's clearly really nervous, which could be because she's just lost her best friend and the father of her child appears to be involved in some way. This would shake anyone.
But he never touched any beer?
Not that I know of.
It's just, have you ever known him to have whiskey before?
Yes.
And how did he react to that?
He just can't handle it. Like,
What do you mean he can't handle it?
I always thought it made him like mad. Like he got mad easier. Got drunk faster.
So you've been with him when he drank whiskey prior to this, and he's gotten drunk. What does he do when he wakes up? Does he remember? Does he not remember? Does he ask you what happened? Nothing like that. Anything like that?
Not
No.
really.
Not really is an interesting answer here, perhaps indicating that sometimes he has memory loss, but not as much as he's acting like he has now.
Is he normally able to recall events after having drank whiskey?
It's certainly convenient that Matthew would have mysterious amnesia on the night that his ex-girlfriend was shot and killed. While Montana has been providing the investigators with plenty of useful information about Matthew, she's not out of the doghouse yet.
Why would a witness who had driven by the scene prior to the 911 call about the accident, if you will, put your car at the scene of that crime?
My car?
Yes, ma'am.
Repeating back "my car" is a technique to give herself a moment to think.
I don't know because my car never moved until the evening after everything had happened to go stay at my parents' house.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your car was never there?
No.
Even though I got a witness that can say that. The car, because this witness sat behind your car for 2 minutes before you or somebody, a female, waved her on to go around.
My car, as far as I know, my car never left.
Mm-hmm.
And if it did, I was not driving it.
Montana makes a qualifying statement here by saying, as far as I know. This gives her a chance to adjust her answer later if more evidence is presented to her. It's also interesting that she clarifies, if it did, I wasn't driving it. She hasn't ruled out the possibility that someone else took her car.
You wouldn't have been driving.
I don't know.
Who else has keys to your car?
Nobody. I have one set of keys. That's it.
And they were with you?
They were, I don't remember if I took my keys out of my car and put them on the counter at the grandparents' house or if I left them in the car.
We've got a lady that's willing to step on the stand and put your vehicle there. Just want you to hear me, okay? I'm not trying to box you in. I need you to be straight. I know you got kids and you're probably trying to stay out of it as best you can, okay? Don't answer me, okay? Just listen to me. If you were there, okay, for any reason, just because you're scared or you're trying to help this bad situation, we need to know about it, because if you're lying about it, okay, for any reason, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I mean, people get like that.
Right.
I need to know if you were there or if you were called down there for any reason to help him or whatever. Like, okay, what have you done or whatever, you know. I need to know, because this ain't done. And if we put you there, like we already got one witness, put your car there, okay. There's a difference between being a witness, okay, and being a suspect. You understand? You need to be honest. You told me that, you told him that you had no idea that she was dead. Well, he texted you clear as day. Let me see your phone again. I'll show you the text. You know, he clearly says, I have Libby's keys. So let me read it out to you, that way you know. Going to get Libby. Where is she? I'm pulling out of the driveway. And then you call him up. So you're the sorriest piece of shit I've ever seen. He left his kids there.
His grandma. As he was, I think as he was pulling out, his grandma was pulling up to pick him up.
Okay. I'm home. This is all at 3:23 a.m. He says going to get Libby. And that's where that conversation. So you with me?
Yes, sir.
Then you call him a sort of 3:28 a.m. Quick trip apparently, because at 3:34, which you're awake, okay, he says, I'm home. I've got Libby's keys in her phone. Where is she, you say? He replies, dead. All this goes down within simply from 3:23 to he says, you're dead. That's 3:34 a.m. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, Montana, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to be honest. Okay. You need to be completely honest. You've got 2 kids to worry about. Okay. If you know more, if you were there, you need to tell us now, because your life's about to change, I'm telling you.
It appears that Montana never told the police that Matthew texted her saying that Libby was dead. Instead, they had to pull out her text messages and confront her. Even if she thought Matthew was speaking figuratively because he was so upset with Libby, you'd expect her to mention this text to detectives after Libby was actually killed. At the very least, most people in her situation would be upset about the possibility that Matthew was being honest when he texted, especially after allegedly choking and attacking her. Things aren't looking good for Montana, and they're only going to get worse.
I'm not holding anything back. I've told y'all everything that I know. I never left that house once I got there. Never. Not till the next day whenever my mom come pick me up and we went to my apartment to get diapers and I come back.
You mean to tell me less than an eighth of a mile while you're awake? And how many minutes is that? A 10 minutes span? 11? 11 minutes? And you're still talking to it. You never heard 2 rifle shots going on?
I did not. No, I did not hear nothing. I never heard nothing. I never went down there. Nothing. I never
Did anybody in that house go down there and use your car?
Not that I know of.
I need you to think. Put that thinking cap on, girl. I'm telling you, because your car has been put at the scene.
Though she repeats I never left the house several times, she doesn't seem to be getting angry about being accused. We would normally expect an innocent person to be showing some kind of irritation by now, because they know the detectives are wrong.
We have a problem. This is a car that has one set of keys to it that you're in possession with. You with me? I'm using your words, not mine.
I'm with you, but I never got in. Once I got there, I never got in my car. And
Would his mother have went down?
She could have. If she did, I was asleep. Or his grandma.
You wasn't asleep.
The witness who saw Montana's car also claimed to have seen a woman at the scene of the crime, though she wasn't able to get a good look at her face and couldn't positively identify her. Still, this leaves an intriguing question. If Montana is being honest and the witness is correct, could another woman have driven her car to the scene?
Okay, you're texting this gentleman. Why he's in the middle of a homicide?
Okay,
for
but I
God's
was awake.
sakes?
His mom never left.
No, be Cindy.
Correct.
I know there's something you holding back.
There's nothing.
Ma'am, I'm just telling you, I can see it.
There's nothing I'm holding back.
Montana has been repeating "not that I know of" and has her palms up in a non-confident position while making her statement. She's also engaging in a lot of self-soothing. This is completely understandable given the accusations, but again, innocent people are going to start being really irritated that they're being accused. And so far, she hasn't been showing much anger or frustration.
Nothing. I'm telling y'all everything I know. Everything. I understand I have 2 kids. This is why I've agreed to do everything that y'all have asked me to do. Everything. I'm not holding nothing back. Libby was my friend. She was my kid's stepmom.
Despite Montana's emotional pleading, the investigators still think there's something she's holding back. Determined to get the answers they're looking for, they hook her up to a polygraph machine. It's important to note that polygraph machines are not admissible in court and have been known to be inaccurate.
Well, have you ever had a polygraph before? Okay. A little nervous coming in, worried about it?
Yeah.
Are you? Most people are, and I'll tell you my experience with that is the nervousness comes from one of 2 or 3 different areas. One, just unknown, never having done it before, just a little nerve-wracking.
Part of settling Montana down for the test also included her once again going through the events of the evening that Livy died. This time, her story includes an interesting detail. She explains that she went to the brick house where Matthew's mom lives after Matthew had allegedly attacked her at Bobby's house and followed her with his truck.
And as I go to get out, he's at my driver's side door and starts choking me again. I start honking the horn, hoping somebody would hear me and come out there and get him off of me and get him to calm down or something like that. Well, when I start honking my horn, he leaves and he goes back to his house. And then I go in through the back door of the brick, that we call it the brick house. Go in through the back door of the brick house, and his mom is sitting in there watching TV. I guess she never heard me. And I just start crying, and I hit my knees telling her what was going on because I was so upset, plus being drunk. It was just a mix of emotions running through me. And she gives me a nerve pill to calm me down. And I lay down on the couch, and I was going through my phone, and I seen where Matthew had commented on something on Facebook that I posted earlier that day. We had our work Halloween party at work that day, and we were all of the employees were the emojis or whatever, and I was the cowboy emoji or whatever, and I had a cowboy hat on it in a picture, and it was a straw hat, and he commented on it and said, "It's felt season," talking about a felt cowboy hat. I never commented back or anything. I texted him, and I said, "How are you going to threaten to kill me and then comment something on Facebook?" Because the whole time he was choking me, he was threatening to kill me and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he starts texting me. We were exchanging messages back and forth, and he told me to come get the kids because he had the kids at the time. He told me to come get them because he was about to leave to go pick Libby up. Well, his grandma nor his mom will let me leave, so the grandma goes down there and gets the boys, and she brings the boys back up there to the house with us. And we exchanged a few more messages, and I went to sleep, woke up.
What was the content of those messages?
Oh, just about how he wanted to kill me, Bobby and Libby, and he said he had Livy's keys in her phone or something, and I asked him where Livy was, and he said dead, and which I never thought anything of it, because when he gets drunk like that and gets mad, he always says stuff to that extent. So I never once thought that he was actually going to do something like what he did.
In this story, Montana mentions that she was given a pill to calm down, and this could perhaps explain why she can't be sure of things like where her keys are, and if someone may have borrowed her vehicle that night. She also finally clarifies why she didn't take Matthew's message about Livy being dead serious, though it's still odd she didn't originally bring this up to investigators herself.
What's your opinion of what happened that night after you got home? What's your opinion? What do you think happened?
I'm sorry if I get emotional.
I wouldn't expect you to.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Elaborate just a little bit for me.
Livy didn't deserve what happened to her. She was young. She got a whole life ahead of her.
You believe Matthew did it? How do you feel about Matthew?
So much anger built up toward him.
Because of this or other things?
This and just being irresponsible and stupid and leaving his kids behind.
Any love left between you and him?
I'll always have a special place for him because he's the father to my kids, but no.
Nothing.
After getting Montana's insight on Livy's death, the officer runs Montana through a practice test, one with interesting results.
Oh, and just to let you know, your body did respond the way that it should when you tell the truth and you tell a lie. You are a terrible liar. Your body responds really strong.
I am a terrible liar.
During a polygraph exam, the individual being questioned is asked some easy questions with obvious answers, as well as difficult questions related to their case. To answer each question, Montana is instructed to tap once on her leg for yes and 2 for no.
Regarding Livy's death, do you intend to answer truthfully each question about that? Did you shoot Livy? Did you participate in shooting Livy? Are you covering for the person responsible for Livy's death?
Oddly, Montana's last tap is not 1 or 2. It looks like it bounces about 3 times. Given how clear her other taps were, this is strange. As well, her eyes shift, indicating that perhaps her thoughts are racing in that moment, causing her to tap more than twice. Something about being asked, "Are you covering for the person responsible for Livy's death?" seems to have rattled her. There are major problems with the polygraph. For one, the pneumograph sensor is to monitor the breathing and should be attached around her ribs. The examiner should have been paying attention and noticed if she is an abdomen or chest breather. Either way, the lower tube should be placed above the belly button. He has this placed down too low, near her waist. People don't breathe that low. As well, the cardiovascular sensor, or cardio cuff, should almost always be placed over the brachial artery in the upper portion of the arm. It also is on the opposite arm as the GSR, sweat sensors on her fingertips. In a rare event like missing an arm, it can be placed on the calf of the leg, yet he places it around Montana's calf and didn't even attempt to put it around her arm. It's measuring the heart, which is a long way from the calf. There are many other issues with this. One quick one would be the size of the cuff. The calf muscles are also slanted. During the process of inflating or deflating the cuff, it may slip and won't be secured tightly. There would also be a lot of interference around the cuff. It doesn't make sense it was placed on her calf instead of her arm.
All right, Montana, I explained to you early on before we started, 3 things have to happen to pass the test. 100% truthful. Entirely truthful. truthful. Second thing was your body needed to respond the way it should when you tell the truth and you tell a lie. Your body did that. Third thing was to follow instructions. Yes, no. You had one little hang up, no big deal. You failed that test miserably, terribly. So what does that tell me?
But it tells you I'm not telling the truth, but I'm telling the truth.
This is kind of like what I told you earlier. I believe that you've told me a whole lot of the truth today, but I don't think you told me everything. You're probably holding something back.
Montana begins showing some ventilating behaviors, pulling at her collar, which is where the term hot under the collar comes from. She's showing her increased anxiety due to being called a liar and already looks like she's about to start crying.
I know you don't know anything about polygraph, and I don't normally do this with a lot of people, but I want to show you something. See this highlighted area right here? Let me see my cursor. You see this highlighted area right here? You see this right here? Along with your cardio going up, all that is a significant sign of deception when I'm asking you. See that little red right there? Mm-hmm. That's me asking you a question about Livy. Okay? Let's go down here. Here it is again. Look. Same thing. This one flattened out a little bit. There's still one. Now, I will tell you, a lot of times on the first charts that we run, the response is maybe a little bit more higher just because the person hadn't really settled down, you know what I mean? But on the second one, look, there it is again. There's asked a question about Livy. There it is again, asked you a question about Livy. I mean, it's just every question. When we score these charts, there's a scoring system used, and if you score a -4,
She started doing strange things with her mouth, including lots of lip licking, compressions, and tongue jutting here. She doesn't like that she's being called out. However, it's important to note that none of these things specifically indicate deception. Rather, they're negative responses to what's being said and signs of increased anxiety.
or less, which would be -4, -5, -6, -7. A -4 or less, you failed. What do you think you scored? -19. That's terrible. It's terrible.
The police seem convinced that there may have been a woman helping Matthew cover his tracks that night. Despite the mounting evidence showing that someone was helping, Montana maintains her innocence, and there simply isn't enough evidence to confidently make an arrest. One thing to consider, though, is that if Montana was there on the scene, why would Matthew text her and tell her that Livy was dead? Unfortunately, there's nothing else the police can do to get that information out of her. So they're forced to turn to the gossip train of Hemphill for more answers. One intriguing theory police are told is that even if Montana wasn't involved in what happened, she may have been jealous of Livy, despite them getting along so well. The key to this theory: Montana's choice to dye her hair dark like Livy's so close to her death. It certainly wasn't anything concrete, but this theory exemplified the complex nature of the case, and it was only going to get more convoluted.
Okay, what do you know about Matthew? You said you don't like him. I know you don't like him. Why don't you like him?
He's just, cocky, always wants to run his mouth and everything. I know he was crazy and his family's crazy and everything, and Matthew's done some dumb before. Yeah, I don't like Matthew. I think before all this, I never liked him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think, I don't care for him.
Have you ever known Matthew to threaten to kill anybody?
Yeah. He was with Livy, but Montana starts dating somebody else. It just pisses him off, and he's like, I'm going to kill him, or, popping off like that. Yes, I've heard him say it.
Have you ever took those threats as being serious or just...
Honestly, no.
You told me Matthew's a jealous type. He runs around with Montana still. You know their ex-wife. Doesn't know her. Runs around with Levy. And then we had the third girl that these two don't even know about. And yet he's jealous because they're seeing.
That's kind of.
Is that Matthew or is that?
That's kind of him. Like, I hate to say that, but that's the way I see it.
Can you tell me Matthews, was he aggravated? Did he seem aggravated that night? Was he happy? Was he?
And before everybody started getting there and everything, it was just being Bobby and him. I mean, he'd been drinking whiskey for like 3 weeks straight. And he was been acting different than he normally acts. He's been waking up like at daylight, starting drinking whiskey and drink all day long and all night.
So Levy's told you in the past that Matthew would threaten you. What would he threaten to do?
Well, I mean, like, she told me, like, there's been times where he's, like, threatened to hit her or whatever, and then one day, they had gotten into an argument, and she came to Taylor's house, and I went over there with her, and we were all just laying in Taylor's bed, and she was telling us about how, I don't remember if she said that Matthew threatened to, or if he really did, but she said something about how he had, threatened or either did pull a gun on her.
Have you ever known Matthew to be violent towards Livy or Montana?
Yeah, both of them.
Have you physically seen that?
I know it's true about seeing the bruises and cuts and all that. And he's told me he's done it before on his own mouth.
You've seen bruises and cuts on who?
Both of them.
On both Livy and Montana?
In an exclusive interview with EWU, Colby Pearson, a former friend of Matthew and Livy, gives more insight into the tumultuous relationship hinted at by the residents of Hemphill.
When they first got together, it was a toxic relationship to start. Me, Kaylee, Matthew, and Livy used to hang out together, drinking in my garage, having fires. Me and Matthew hunted, fished, stuff like that together. I didn't have any real feelings about it until he started getting physical with her, and then I did have some feelings about that. Livy would tell Kaylee, and Kaylee naturally would tell me, my buddy that I've known for forever, and he's not doing the right thing, but they're just gonna get back together next week, and then I'm gonna look like a bad guy. And I really wish I'd have navigated it in a different way. It was a rocky road. I've came to terms with it. I don't think that I would have ever changed anything, no matter if I would have got physical with him and shown him how it felt, or that's what I really wanted to do. I mean, hindsight, I wish I would have, but it wouldn't have changed anything. I think it'll just created more drama, and I think we still would have been dealing with the same outcome.
While many people in Hemphill had heard rumors of Matthew's alleged abuse, Colby says he had a first-hand experience.
Me and Kaylee were in bed one night. Livy called Kaylee and said that she was walking down 944. Matthew had beat her up and kicked her out of the truck. Me and Kaylee get up and we head out to 944, which is just right up the road. Taylor, neighbors, Livy's best friend, had beat us there and picked her up. Livy and Matthew were living at Taylor's house at this time. So we get the call from Taylor that she's picked her up and they're back at Taylor's house. Matthew is supposed to be coming to get all his things from Taylor's house because, they're breaking up again. So me and Kaylee decided to stay, just in case things got physical again. I never personally, with my own two eyes, seen it. But that night he had drug her out of the truck by her hair, and she had hair missing where he had pulled it and drug her out of the truck. He showed up, got all his stuff, and I sat in the car in the driveway until he got there. And I didn't want it to be known that I was there. I was just hanging out just in case anything got crazy. He started getting pretty loud and acted like he was going to get violent again. And when he did, we had really dark tinted windows on Kaylee's car. That's what we were in. He was right outside my door in his truck, and he started getting loud because Taylor was being loud with him. So when that happened, I stepped out. And when I stepped out, it was all this, she hit me first, yada, 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 whatever, and kind of got him calmed down a little bit and was like, man, just, let's just get your stuff packed, get out of here. You should probably go. Nothing happened that night. I remember that story really good.
Matthew's alleged treatment of Livy is nothing short of horrific. In another exclusive interview, Ty Pearson, Colby's brother, talks about Matthew's alleged conduct towards other women.
There was his ex-wife. She had told a few people about the abuse, the situation that she was in, and she actually left and got away from it. But that's probably the point where people started seeing his aggression towards women was with her.
The people of Hemphill were clearly eager to tell the police what they knew and had heard through the grapevine. Through this information, the police were able to put together most of the events leading up to Livy's death. Following his breakup with Livy in early October, Matthew had been on a downward spiral. Weeks of constant drinking had turned him into a shell of the person he was, and it was only a matter of time until he snapped. Driven by jealousy, Matthew attacked Montana at Bobby's house and eventually chased her to his grandparents' house and damaged her car. Eventually, he must have gotten back in his car and searched for Livy. Although they had little information about what might have transpired between the two that night, investigators were able to determine that Matthew ran Livy off the side of the road before kicking and hitting her car. Eventually, he grabbed his rifle and shot her. It's believed that he took her keys and stole his cousin's car sometime after Livy had died. What still isn't clear, though, is exactly why he then decided to curl up into the fetal position near Livy's car and wait for someone to discover him. Even though the police now had a better idea of what really happened October 30th, there was still plenty of drama for them to deal with, because this case was far from over. Ranging from conspiracy theories involving the cartel to a prisoner on the run, and more than one arrest. When prosecutors failed to indict Matthew within 90 days of his arrest, he was out of jail on a lowered bail of only $50,000. Having Matthew back on the streets was a recipe for disaster, and tensions were high all throughout town. While Matthew's mother, Cindy, may have been spamming local Facebook groups with messages about her son's innocence, most people in town fully believed he was guilty, including Darcy Bass, Livy's mother. Things turned ugly when Darcy and Matthew ran into each other at a gas station, and there was a heated exchange. Luckily, the two were separated before either of them could do any damage to each other, but it was clear to everyone that the town was reaching a breaking point. However, before things could boil over, more charges are soon brought against Matthew by Montana, leading to his second, but not final, arrest.
First one is for the criminal mischief to Montana's vehicle. And the second one is for the assault on Montana. It's occurred over at Bobby O's house. Okay? I don't know if your attorney told you this information or not. I just want to make sure you understand. And I'll make sure she understands after I get you inside. I'll come back out and talk to you.
Oh, I can't go in?
No.
You're going to really take him from me?
I have no choice, man. He's under indictment.
You know, JP, she's a liar.
For a brief moment following Matthew's arrest, it seemed as though things might calm down. But later that very same afternoon, Darcy dropped by with issues about this case, this time surrounding Cindy.
You want me to show you something about Cindy? And that's going to be my next thing? And she might be thinking she's out there helping. What she ended up doing is she's going to end up hurting. So this is all I said to her. I said, look, it's starting to bother me that you keep repeating it. Like she screams at me all these words. But she's being nice, okay?
Mm-hmm.
My son, I know my son is innocent. We want the truth as much as anyone does, okay? So I said, can you please stop? How do you know that, Cindy, if he doesn't remember? He said he was going to kill her and she's killed. Please tell me how you know he is innocent. But look at this before. This is how much you, just look at this, okay? It's very...
Constant.
No, look at these. No, just watch. Look at this. This is, I mean, it was extreme. It was a lot, you know. She got me with the little boys, you know.
Well, they all say the same thing, pretty much.
Oh, no.
No?
Oh, no. She's saying all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Like, she knew something that I need to go and meet her and talk to her about, and which I didn't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying that, oh, my daughter liked to fight and all this stuff.
Based on Cindy's alleged harassment of Darcy, it's clear that she's willing to do a lot if she thinks it's what's best for her son. But just how far would Cindy be willing to go? Seemingly, Cindy wasn't the only one who believed in Matthew's innocence. Within a Facebook group known as the Matthew Edgar Case, Hemphill, Texas Unfiltered, a conspiracy began to spread that Matthew had become $30,000 in debt with a drug cartel. The theory then claims that members of this cartel murdered Livy, staged the crime scene in order to frame Matthew, and then injected Matthew with unknown drugs to erase his memory. Despite how outlandish and ludicrous this theory is, the Facebook group is still active, with select members still posting evidence that supposedly backs up their claims. This evidence usually consists of text messages about local drug dealers or posts tearing apart the information provided by the police. On January 25, 2022, Matthew Edgar's long-awaited trial finally began. Still claiming that he had no memories of the night in question, Matthew entered a not guilty plea. The first 2 days of the trial proceeded normally. However, one glaring issue halted the trial on the third and final day. Matthew Edgar was nowhere to be found. It appeared that while out on bond, Matthew made a run for it, hoping to escape his inevitable conviction.
Come to the trial, day one, everything was, they didn't really lean either way. And day two, it started leaning more towards he was going to prison. And I believe that's when he was like, he's got to go. He got to get out of there. It was all surrounded by his grandparents' house. And we got there and we all went looking for him. Everybody. From that day, from what I understood, from what I talked to everybody that was there, they turned dogs loose on his trail, and they made a circle through the woods, came out to the highway, and lost his scent. So somebody picked him up at the highway.
Matthew's disappearance came as a surprise to many, as there had been no signs that he was planning something so daring. Rumors soon began to surface about the morning of his disappearance.
This is the story that was told when law enforcement got there, is that he was on the phone with his lawyer. He got mad. He got a gun out of the house and he took off walking, is what they told law enforcement. He did have an ankle monitor on, which obviously doesn't do any good when they expect the fugitive to charge the ankle monitor.
Despite his absence, it was eventually decided that his trial would continue without him. In absentia, Matthew was found guilty for Livy's murder and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. While Matthew's sentencing might have brought Livy a sliver of justice, the community of Hemphill wouldn't be satisfied until her killer was behind bars. Unfortunately, it would be quite some time until that became a reality. It was believed that Matthew was hiding out somewhere in Sabine County with the alleged assistance of his family. And on December 29, 2022, after over 11 months of being one of Texas's most wanted fugitives, Matthew was finally caught.
I bet it probably wasn't an hour after they found him that Sabine County posted on their Facebook page his apprehension photo. From what I understand, they were tipped off that he had come back around for the holidays because it was around Christmas that he was caught. From what I understand, they were tipped off and nobody was told anything. They just kind of moved in and waited and watched.
Few details have been released about the apprehension, but it was announced that Matthew was found in a small house near his grandparents' home in rural Sabine County. According to the federal agents who captured Matthew, he was out smoking a cigarette on the back porch of the house when they pulled up. Although the citizens of Hemphill could breathe a sigh of relief with Matthew's capture, there was now a new worry for them. Who had helped Matthew escape? Matthew's proximity to his grandparents' house led many to believe that his family may have been involved. And in November 2023, it was announced that Cindy Edgar, Matthew's mother, had turned herself in and was charged for hindering the apprehension or prosecution of a known felon. She's not been found guilty, and the results of this charge are still pending.
I think she needs to be the first of others.
With his third and final arrest, Matthew is finally facing justice for the terror and suffering he wreaked on Livy and her loved ones.